So, swinging back over here and actually talking about what's going on inside the real world, instead of just theoretical stuff and what is supposed to be happening inside of our switches, there's a couple different things that are happening right now in different states around the country. I'm talking about the US, so if you're international, this doesn't really apply to you, but it might. So just pay attention for like just a couple minutes. So in the legislation of certain states like I think Michigan and Wisconsin, they are currently actively trying to pass laws that ban essentially VPNs. The reason for this is not inconsequential, but I'm going to stay away from that topic as I don't want to jump into that, the reasons why they're trying to push this through. I just want to talk about the potential issues that we're going to find with banning a VPN. So, a couple different things that we've talked about so far. VPN helps you by encrypting your data, keeping your stuff private, and VPNs are used by countless businesses around the US and the world in order to keep their data confidential. Things that you should consider. Do you want any type of government having unrestricted access to everything that you search online? In my opinion, I don't, because I value my privacy, right? Do you want strangers to be able to use traffic sniffing tools to potentially get your personal information? And then just think about logging into your bank account or other sensitive sites. Without that encryption, that information is potentially more exposed than what it could be. And sure, you have protocols like HTTPS to encrypt your traffic as well, but hackers can still find ways to intercept that, and this helps us be more protected whenever your data is transmitted. And for those of you that might be new to IT, or you maybe have stumbled on this video and you're like, I still don't understand what a VPN is, to break it down and put it in more of a metaphor, so let's say you're a student in class, you write down a note and you pass that to your friend, right? Sometimes the teacher might catch that. If the teacher does not catch that, then you're good to go. But if you don't have the VPN, the teacher can basically take that note and read it to the whole class. Now, VPNs aren't a magic shield that makes everything invulnerable online. They're just one tool in your privacy toolkit. They encrypt your internet traffic, and they help protect you from hackers snooping in on public Wi-Fis, and they kind of help you stop malware, phishing, and other stuff like that, potentially, because some of those VPN sites, when you click on a link or something, it may say, hey, do you want to click on this link? We found that this is a potential phishing website, depending on which VPN you actually use. So restricting and banning personal VPNs is going to reduce that online privacy for everyday users, and it could make hackers easier to intercept your data, which again, I don't think we should be legislating this. All right, now that we've kind of talked about what a VPN, what's happening in the real world, how does this translate into what the CCNA teaches versus Network Plus? So all that data that we talked about for like the session keys, IPsec, hinted a little bit at GRE, and all the breakdown of how the IP packet is actually put into and encrypted when it goes out of that router, that is, I won't say surface level, but that's just like a little bit of the information that the CCNA covers. It goes into a lot more depth on those specific instances and other instances of VPNs. Like, we didn't even talk about getting a dedicated fiber run between a branch office and a main office to then put on top of that a VPN as well. So not only do you have a layer 1 security, you got your own leased line essentially, and a VPN to encrypt your data, but we only talked about the VPN that essentially 2 sites with 2 different routers, and it goes over the public internet. That's what we talked about. There's a lot more in the CCNA and going into depth on that, whereas the Network Plus keeps it a little bit more general. So I have this one here for this Network Plus, and it's essentially got 2 to 3 sections on virtual private networks, and then a private direct connection where you're doing that lease line like we talked about, or a dedicated circuit. So that's what you can kind of expect from the CCNA perspective. It's going to get a lot more in depth, a lot more technical. So if you're still on the fence about should I get the CCNA or should I do the Network Plus, like some of the questions were in the Discord for the summer of CCNA, if you're super brand new to IT and you want to just get your feet wet, I would recommend going for the Network Plus. I think the current version is N10009. This was a good study book from Todd Lamel and John Behavior. I hope I said that right. This was a good one. It was, I would say, 90% of this was good. There was about 10% of the information here that felt like they put the book together in a bit of a rush. And so some of the answers and questions that they have in this book don't match with what is actually correct. I'm not going to go through the book and show that or anything. I don't know what the acceptable terms are for that. This is a good one. Just go into it knowing that this was put out very soon after the N10009 was introduced, and so there's a few things in there you need to be on the lookout for. I think it's like 1 or 2 chapters that have a few answers in there that I was like, I don't think that's right. Did some Googling, did a little bit of AI chatting back and forth to make sure, and some of those answers were incorrect in some of the answer keys for that. But this will get you the knowledge. This will get you the knowledge for the Network Plus that you need. I still highly recommend, if you're gonna do the Network Plus, go find like a video series. I don't know if Network Chuck has it on his academy, but you can look there. I would go to something like LinkedIn Learning, check that out. I don't know how much that is for, or something like Udemy, where they have some practice labs for you. The Network Plus does have some practice labs on it. For the CCNA, if you're reading the book or doing the summer of CCNA, you need labs for that one 100% if you want to pass that. So I would recommend the CCNA if you've had a few years experience IT, or if you've been around computers for a while and you know a little bit of way around in terms of CLI, terminal, that type of stuff. You're a little bit more tech savvy than a person that might not be as literate with computers. I would recommend the CCNA for that, because again, both of these tests, I think this test is, I want to say $300. It might be with a discount. I think it's more like 200 and something, but I know the CCNA is around $300 for that. So if you're going to put the time commitment to learn this stuff and put in the money commitment, the monetary commitment for this, I highly recommend finding some type of lab work for the Net Plus. Doesn't have to be super in depth, but it does need to have a little bit. There's about 4 or 5 questions that I think I ran into that pertain to lab style environments when I took the Network Plus. And then for the CCNA, you obviously need that. All right, that's everything that I got on VPNs for this video. If you have any suggestions on what you would like me to cover, and again, I don't know every single thing, but I do know some stuff, let me know. I have some switches set up right over here if we want a basic introduction to how switches work. Like, how do you console into one? How do you get into a port to configure it? What is error disabled? Like, we can answer some of that stuff if you want. A lot of the stuff's going to be covered in the summer of CCNA, so I highly recommend you push that there as well. But we can do it on the YouTube as well. Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. That feels weird to say, but hey, if you do it, I guess it helps me out. I have no idea. But we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.